Hey everybody, it's Jeremy, and I wanted to take a moment today to show you the basics of Tabletop Simulator, or TTS, so that next time you want to play with somebody and you want to play a game that maybe isn't available on another platform like Board Game Arena or Yucata or anywhere else you might play games, you could go to Tabletop Simulator and enjoy a game there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a game. And I'm just going to do single player just so I can do this demo easily. So I'll click single player, and then you have some options here. You have classic games like checkers and chess and Go and poker and things like that. But probably you want to play an actual board game. And if you go into workshop, you can browse for games, right, that you might have. You can download them from the internet. From Steam. Tabletop Simulator is an app that runs in Steam, which is like the Google Play Store, the App Store. So you buy Tabletop Simulator once, and then any content you have loaded in there or that you have bought to put in there is free to use every time. So as you can see, I have some games here that I've downloaded, right? If I back up from Workshop and look at DLC, downloadable content, these are paid game downloads. So if you want Scythe, you can click on Scythe. It'll take you to the Steam store, and it'll tell you that this costs $8 to get the official Scythe game in TTS. So I'm going to go back to my board, and I'm going to load up a workshop game, and I'll pick one that maybe you're familiar with. And let's try, how about Stone Age? We'll load it in, and depending on how fast your internet connection is, or if you played the game before, it may take a minute or two for all the graphics to kind of come into the 3D world of TTS. Sorry, I should have got some water before I did this video. Anyway, let's jump into how to control the interface, okay? So I've got a little halo around my mouse so you can see where I'm going, and when I use the keyboard, I will verbalize those key commands to you so that you can learn them as well. Now, the first thing you need to do is when you get in a game is choose which seat you're going to sit at. So if you go up to your name and click it and click change color, you can choose where you sit at the table, right? So I'll choose red. And now I'm seated I'm seated at the table at the red spot, and I have the red player board. So everyone can choose their color, and they'll pick a seat around the table automatically once you choose the color. It's that easy. Okay, then you need to know how to zoom in and zoom out. So this works best if you have a scroll mouse, in my opinion. So I'm just scrolling the wheel up and down to zoom in and out. Okay, so that's how zooming works with a mouse. There's other ways to zoom too. Now, when you're zoomed in, you can always just tap the space bar to zoom out to a full view. So that's very easy. So space bar just brings you back to full view. Now, when you're zoomed in, you can move around by clicking and holding down the mouse button, the mouse wheel button itself. So if I click and hold, I can pan around when I'm zoomed in I'm just pushing down on the wheel button. The wheel is usually its own button. Spacebar zooms out. If I wanted to do it without using the mouse, I can use WASD. So your left hand can sort of hover over the left half of the keyboard. Use WASD. WS are up and down, A and D are left and right. So you can pan around really easily. I'm just pressing WASD depending on where I want to go. And yeah, it's pretty easy. Okay, so you can get used to that. If you play any sort of video game, maybe you are already used to those controls because they're common in a lot of games. Spacebar again zooms out. Some other ways you can zoom is you can, if you're near an area that you want to zoom in on, you can tap Z for zoom on your keyboard and it'll zoom to that area. Okay, so spacebar, and I want to zoom in on this upper right corner, tap Z, and it zooms me in, and spacebar zooms out. So Z will zoom in kind of wherever your mouse is currently located. Another thing you can do is press M for magnify, and it gives you a little magnifying glass under your mouse, so you can check something out and see what it is without actually having to reposition and rezoom your view of the board, okay? So you could do M for magnify. The other thing you can do for zooming or getting a better view of things is holding down Alt or Option. So if you hover over a card and want to see it in detail, just hold down Alt or Option on your keyboard and it'll pop it up in large detail for you. So you can just keep it held down and hover over different things to see what it is, or you can just tap and bring it up. Okay, and that works on multiple kinds of objects, not everything. So these are actually bags here. So this is a container or a bag that holds the resource of stone. It's shaped to look like the stone token. This one's clay, this one's wood, this one is gold. And other supplies or bags actually look like bags. So if it has a little infinity symbol on there, it means there's an infinite supply of them. So there's infinite dice in this bag. There's infinite 10 coins in this bag. Infinite 5 coins in that bag. So I'm clicking and dragging quickly to pull out one of those items. Okay. So I can do that with a card. If I click and drag quickly, I can grab one card. Okay. Click and drag. One card. Click and drag one card. If you click and hold for a second and then drag, you can pick up a stack. Okay, so that's one thing to be aware of is just how fast you click and drag. Depends on if you pick up one single item from a stack or the whole stack. So that's just a little timing issue. Depends on how fast you click and drag. Now let's say you want to look at a card. When you hover over a card, or if you have it selected with your mouse, just tap F for flip. So click and drag. I still have it. I haven't let it go. Oops, it rotated. And I can hit F and it'll flip it over. Click and drag, F, flip it over. I can grab a whole stack and flip a whole stack over. I can flip a whole stack. So I can grab all of these, flip all of them over, right? So you can do that with multiple items. Anything you have selected. So I'm just clicking and dragging with my left mouse button to draw a bounding box. To select all those things. Flip, they all flip. Okay. If this is a discard pile and you want to make it neat again, just hit G for group. Boom. They all go back into a stack. F, flip them back over so they're face down. And then you can shuffle them by hitting R for randomize. Okay, so you can hit R to shuffle, or you can click and hold to pick it up and then shake. And it'll shuffle when you shake. With a dice, same thing. If you shake and then toss it, it'll roll the dice. Okay. So you can grab a dice, shake it, roll it, and then I'll hit, when you hover over it, a dice will tell you what face is up. So I rolled a 3 on there. I can hit Z to zoom in, or I could hit M to magnify, right? Or I can hit Alt. Okay, so that is rolling or randomizing, shaking, shuffling, okay? Put that back in the bag. Hey, sometimes they don't go in there. Then you just try again. Haha, and it's not going to work now. Weird. Okay, well, whatever. Doesn't really matter. It's a virtual game. There's no limit on those things, so it doesn't really matter. Now, if I wanted to add 5 cards to my hand, I can just tap 5 on the top number row, not the number pad. If you have an extended keyboard with an actual number pad on the right side, not that, but the top row of numbers, tap 5. And boom, a little half second later, you see I have 5 cards selected and in my hand. Now, your hand is usually along the edge of a table, and so your cards will go in there and you'll see them face up, but just trust me, no one else can see your cards, okay? Even though on the table they look like they're face up to everybody else sitting around the table, they're gonna be face down. And they also show up, they're anchored at the bottom of your screen in your hand. So if you're zoomed in to an area on the board, your hand is still down here easily accessible because it's anchored to the bottom of the board, okay? As well as being literally like on the board or the edge of the table over here, okay? So they're really two of the same areas. You see the highlights change as I hover over either one of them. So that's your hand and how it works, okay? You can Z to zoom in, and if you needed to move a marker on your track, of course, you can just click and drag, and you see where the little shadow is underneath the object? That kind of gives you a good guide on where it's going to fall. Okay, some areas on the board might have little magnets hooked to them though, little snap zones. So like these circles by these houses probably have a little snap zone on them. So if I grab a meeple and I drag it over there, oh yeah, see how there's a little ghost showing up? So it's got a little snap zone, so when you get close to it, it'll snap it in place so that it goes in the proper location. Now, it depends on how the game was made, whether those snap zones are there. So this is just a big pool over here. So there's not really snap zones over here, but typically if there is a space for it on the board, hopefully the creator of the TTS mod, as the games are called, has put in a little snap zone so it's easy to snap things into your location. Okay. Another thing you might want to do is Alt or Option to hover over something. And that's useful for like the manual or the rules or the guides. Is you can hit Alt or Option to zoom in on the documentation. Now sometimes when you zoom in on manuals or rule books, whatever, there might be a left and a right arrow on either side, so you can page through the book. You just click it, and it'll flip the pages into the rule book. And that's what that is for. Okay, and what else? We covered, what if you want to get rid of this stuff over here? Okay, so this toolbar on the left here is for creators who are making their own games. You can go into Menu, Configuration, Interface, and you can turn that off. And maybe the chat window keeps popping up. You don't like that? You can turn off the chat window and then hit Apply. And now those interface elements are gone. Okay, so you can customize this however you want for your gameplay. If you click on Controls, it'll tell you what the control keys are. Right. So if you forget some of these, you can look under there. Sound, you can adjust if the game has sound. You can turn it up and down. But probably voice chat is something you might want to look into. If you're not using Discord to do a voice chat, you can do a chat right in Tabletop Simulator. And I have it set to toggle. And the key is for chat is C for chat. So voice chat is C. And it's set to toggle. So if I hit C, you can see a little speaker shows up next to my name. So I can hit C to toggle voice chat on and off within TTS. Now, if you use Discord, you don't need to worry about that. Some other things you might want to do in configuration is if you have maybe an older machine or an underpowered machine, you could change your resolution down to maybe 720. Maybe you want to turn off the shadow quality to low, or some of these advanced options. You can turn those down, and the game will take a little bit less resources to run. And then you have some preferences just in sort of the game itself, speed and inverting the controls and whatnot. So that's under Menu Configuration, okay? So some other options you might want to choose are actually under Options up here, and that might be Turns, is turning on Turns. And then you can see it puts this little window up here. And then when I'm done taking my turn, if I've played my cards and I've moved my stuff around and put my meeples out, whatever, I'm obviously not actually playing this game, but I can signify to the next player it's their turn by hitting End Turn, and then it'll move the little star showing whose turn it is down the list of players over here on the right-hand side. So you might want to turn on Turns here to make it more obvious to your other game partners when you're done taking your move. Okay. Some other options in here might be permissions. So you can change permissions that people have within this game. So if you don't want them to flick, you can turn that off. If you don't want music, you can turn that off. If you don't want them to be able to flip the whole table, which I don't know why that's a permanent interface thing. It's so dumb, honestly. You can disable that. But some other tools you might want to use are some kind of label or pointer tools. And if you are telling somebody like, hey, why don't you go over here, you can hit the tab key and it'll put a little bouncing arrow there temporarily. So you can drop any number of arrows by just tapping the tab key. Or if you want to point to something and say, hey, why don't you move this guy over, whoops, sorry. You can hold down the tab key and be like, hey, why don't you move this guy over here? So tab and then move your mouse, hold down tab, move your mouse, and it draws out a ruler. So for, there's some tabletop like skirmish or battle or war games where you need to measure things, but you can easily like just point at stuff. You know, you can hold down tab and move your mouse and it'll draw a line over things. So that can be kind of handy sometimes as well. But those are the basics. And then finally, some like quality of life things to speed up your gameplay is, let's say you really want to get a good view of your player board. And so you get it zoomed in just the way you like it. You can save this as a camera view by holding Control and then pressing a number on the top number row. So Control 1. Sorry, Control 1. Whoops, I hit it. Hit too many keys. Control 1. So, let's try that again. Control 1. There we go. So I saved camera 1. Now I'm going to move up here to look at maybe these 4 cards here. I want a good view of that always. Control 2. I'll move over here. These 4 cards I want a good look at. Control 3. And maybe I want to get a good look at what's going on up here for some reason. Control 4. And then a spacebar to zoom out. Now if I want to recall those, I hold down Shift and the number. So Shift 1 takes me back to my player board. Shift 2, lower left. Shift 3, lower right. Shift 4, far upper left. Spacebar back. Okay, so very easy to save cameras and really zip around so you can see details of your player board or areas of the game board itself. And that's super easy. So it's Control 1 to set it, Shift 1 to recall it. Yeah, so that really covers the basics. I don't think there's much else I guess maybe if you wanted to lock something or move something, if it, like, I can't grab this cheat sheet down here, the rules, but if I hover over it and hit L for lock to unlock it, then I can pick it up and move it around. So maybe I wanted to put it here for some reason and then hit L to lock it, and now I can't accidentally pick that up again. So you maybe want to lock some stuff if people are accidentally grabbing things and moving them around. You can lock them or unlock them and move them and then lock them again with L. So that could be something you might be interested in doing as well. But I think that'll cover it for this video. I've gone on long enough. That covers most of the basics. You know, you can rotate with Q and E if you want to rotate stuff around, and the amount it rotates is this box here. You can click it to change the degrees that it rotates. I like 90 usually, but you know, you can pick whatever you want. Bounding box to grab a bunch of stuff, pick it up. And if you knock stuff over, like figures, they usually pop back up automatically because it knows it's a figurine or a meeple. So if you knock it over, no worries, just click it, it'll pop back up. If it came in upside down, just hit F to flip, and it'll flip it right side up. And if it's rotated, you can just hit Q and E to rotate that. So that's going to cover it. I'll stop there. You have the basics of Tabletop Simulator, and you can enjoy games that maybe you can't find other places. And it's a really good, I like the feel of it because it does feel like you're sitting around a board game at actual table with your friends. And yeah, try it out. You can't really ruin anything. You can always just reload the game if you screw something up. And when you're done, just go to menu and main menu, and are you sure? Yep, and then it'll take you back to the intro screen of Tabletop Simulator, and then you can click the power button to exit the game out completely, or you can create another game. If you were going to join a game that somebody had created, if they played a multiplayer game, you would click join, and then you could type something in up here, and you can see the servers, and then you can join a game and play with other people. So you can just type in stuff, see what's available, or you can just type in nothing and just see like there's a lot of games going on, right? So you can always find games on here too if you can't find something on Board Game Arena. Okay, that'll do it. I'm done. We'll see you later. Thanks.